Good morning, church. Today I'd like to speak to you about speaking life. And I think many a times we underestimate the words that we say, or we have kind of taken on a certain personality or a certain way of speaking, then we don't understand, or we fail to understand the significance and the weight and the power of what we say. So let's talk a little bit about power of words. Matthew 21 verse 21, Jesus replied, "Truly I tell you, if you have faith and do not doubt, not only can you do what was done to the fig tree, but also you can say to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and it will be done." This is an interesting verse, and talks about faith, but not only talk about faith. What I want you to pay attention to, the verse says, "You can say." Okay, saying has to do with releasing words. So it's not just about faith, but it's the ability to have the faith to activate the words that you say, so that even some very impossible things can be accomplished. And as you know, every word in the Bible is true. So you have to believe that on some level that, if Jesus said that if we had sufficient faith, we can even speak to the mountain, and the mountain would itself move into the ocean. Okay, and it would happen. So you got to ask yourself, how powerful are words? Okay, the Bible says, "In the beginning was the Word." Okay, when God created the earth, the first thing He said was, "Let there be light." He used words to create light out of nothing. Okay, uh, and for those of you who understand the significance of "let there be light," because it's not just about switching on the light, and we got to remember that in the beginning there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. Okay, that means time did not exist. Okay, and when God said, "Let there be light," it wasn't just about light, it was about the creation of time. He created a whole new dimension called time, that all of a sudden did not exist before then. Okay, so this is the power of words. God used words to create the universe. Okay, so and we gotta to think about it and ponder about it, and if you think about it long enough, you realize that if we were created in His image, and if the same power that was in God is really in us as well, or even some portion of it is in us, or the ability for us to use some of His godlike powers, then it would be easy to extrapolate to say that maybe our words have powers too. Maybe there is a way for us to use words to really begin to create stuff that did not exist. Okay, now I'm not going to go into all possible way that words can be used. However, for this sermon, what I want to truly take it down to a meaningful place where you and I can do something about it, and you can see results. Does that sound fair to you? Because I know sometimes the tendency for sermons to to be so prophetic or so inspirational that when you walk away from it, you really have no idea what you should do differently or what you can do about it. Okay, and what I desire for you for this sermon is really to be able to walk away today from this sermon and say, you know what, I can do this and I can see results. Okay, so I want you to understand the power of words in two ways. Okay, the first way I want you to understand power of words is, how does the power of words impact your life? And this is the power of the word "I am." You see, many a times uh, we use the word "I am," and we use it very carelessly, not knowing that it is creating something in us. Okay, if God can use the word let there be light to create light, can you imagine the power of the word I am? If you had that kind of power, whatever follows the word I am is what you are creating for yourself. Okay? So whenever if you wake up in the morning and you say, I am so tired, guess what? You are creating yourself into a weak, tired being. If you say, I am so poor, guess what? You are creating that in yourself. If you say, I'm so stupid, guess what? Even if you were smart, you have just put yourself on a path to becoming stupid. Okay? The power of words. We got to start reflecting on what we say over our lives. Okay? Some people say, I am no good. I'm so unlucky. I'm so, unfortunate. Whatever it is, when you use those words over yourself, you are actually creating that for yourself. So learn to speak differently. Learn to say, I am successful. Learn to say I'm intelligent. Learn to say I'm beautiful. Okay, learn to say what you want to become. This does not happen to my wife, and I'm sure it does not happen to many of your spouses, many of your wives. But I have friends who have told me that their wives tell them all the time, I'm so fat, I'm so ugly, I'm so ordinary, I'm so plain, and when women do this, and when wives do this, they got to be really careful, because they are speaking that over themselves. And not only are they saying that, they're saying that to their husband. This is the person who married you because he thought that you were beautiful, he thought that you were intelligent, he thought that you were an amazing person. And when you start speaking that over yourself, guess what? Maybe one day he might get convinced and believe that that's true. So so stop it. Stop saying things about yourself that you do not want to become. Start speaking life over yourself. Start saying, uh, I am beautiful, I am amazing, I am awesome, I'm intelligent, I am a child of God. And many times we fail to remember that we did not create us. Okay, we were created differently, and in the process of living our life, we somehow have shifted what God intended us to be by speaking things over our life that God did not intend. Okay, this was what God intended us to be. Ephesians 2 verse 10, it says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So according to the Bible, when God created us, he created us for a purpose. He created you for a purpose. He created you to do something good. He created you, giving you all the skills, talents, and abilities and looks necessary to accomplish your mission and your destiny for your lifetime. He's given you everything you need. Okay? And he intended for you to live out that destiny. And so when we say I am, okay, we need to follow that by what God intends for our life. If he intends for you to be successful in business, then you begin to say, I am successful in business. If he intends for you to do well in school, say, I am intelligent, I am successful in school. If he intends for you to be beautiful, say, I am beautiful. In fact, we are all beautiful in the eye of God. So really, all of us should say, I am beautiful. But somehow along the line, we have allowed the devil to lie to us, to deceive us. And one of the most deceptive way he does it is by convincing us of things that are not true about ourselves. And that is where the problem starts. So we begin to declare of ourselves, I am a failure. I am broke. I am in debt. I am full of mistakes. I am unattractive. I'm old. I'm wrinkled. The moment we start to believe the lies of the devil and we begin to speak that over ourselves, guess what? There are power in our words, and we begin to create what the devil could not do to us. We begin to do it to ourselves. So when you wake up in the morning each day, when you look yourself in the mirror, do not say, I am old, I'm wrinkled, I'm weak, I'm poor, I'm stupid, I'm unlucky. No, begin to speak what you desire and what God intends for your life. Begin to speak, I am successful, I am beautiful, I am amazing, I am intelligent. Begin to speak that over your life. Begin to walk in that way. When we read about Abraham and Sarah, you got to ask yourself, did Sarah also fall into the same problem? You see, Sarah also had the same issue. She was 80 years old, and in those days, for women to not to have children, it was a big shame. In that culture, it's interesting. Even though it's the husband's fault, they still blame the wife for not having children. So for her not to be able to conceive and have children, she believed that she was the failure. So it's possible that she started speaking stuff over herself. She started saying, I'm a failure, I'm unattractive, I'm, I I cannot have children, and to the point where God had to step in. And God, it's interesting because the first thing that God did to change the situation around was to change her name. He changed her name from Sarai to Sarah. Sarah means princess. Okay, so first thing he did was says that, I'm going to change the I am. So it says saying that I am a failure, you're going to say I am a princess. So, and not only are you going to say it, everyone around you is going to say it as well. So now all of a sudden, everyone's calling her princess. Can you imagine, even if you sat at a table and you wanted her to pass the salt, you have to say, princess, would you pass the salt? And eventually after a while, those words, begin to take root in her, begins to grow in her, and after a while she's going to believe that she is a princess, and she's going to begin to say, I am a princess. And that is when things will begin to shift in her life. The change has to come from the inside first, and then it starts to manifest on the outside. After that, her body would change accordingly. And all of a sudden, even though we know it's a miracle, she had her child. So you see, there are power in the words that we use over our life. So it's important. It's important for us when we say things about ourselves, even especially when things go wrong, we are very careful to say things about ourselves in which God intends and that we desire for us to become. So be careful on the words that you use with regards to I am. What do you want to be? What do you want to become? What does God intend for you to become? Begin to write down, those words. If you want to look better, say, I am getting younger every day. If you want to be better managing your finances, say, I am good in managing money. If you want to do better in school, say, I am intelligent. I am hardworking. I'm more disciplined. begin to speak life over yourself. If you cannot have children, begin to speak, I am a mother. If you are unhealthy, if you're suffering from some area of health challenge, begin to speak life. Begin to say, I am healthy. I'm going to live a long life. I'm going to be strong. I am strong. Begin to speak life in that area in which you want to see change in, and see God work in your life. The second area that I want you to begin to learn to take words and use them in a very practical way and begin to see some results is with regards to children, or the next generation. Um, as you know, I have 2 children of my own. I have Madison is now 4 years old, and Aiden is 1. And so it's interesting. Being a parent, and understanding words and the power of words. You gotta ask yourself, how do you then discipline and correct your children? And actually, Sarah was the one that encouraged me to speak about this when speaking about words, because clearly she uses it a lot more than I do. You got to find a way to correct your child uh, without speaking something negative into their destiny and into their life and over them. Okay, so when they do something really bad or dumb, you don't just say you are so stupid. You don't say that you are so bad. You gotta find a way to correct them at the same time, speaking life into their life. Okay, and I tell you why this is important, because it's not just in the Bible that teaches us about the power of words. I'm going to give you some research findings that supports it as well. There was a study done on children in primary school. Okay, and they took this class, and what they did was that they randomly picked out half the class, and what they did was they gave out a test first. Okay, they gave out a test to everyone in the class. Okay, so all the kids in the class took the same test. But instead of grading the test, they just randomly selected half the test papers, and they called the parents of those kids and the teacher up and told them that from our test results we can see that half the kids in your class are what we call late bloomers. Okay, they may not appear very intelligent right now, but they're really, really smart. Okay, and over the course of the next 1 year, you're going to see them become really, really smart. Okay, and so the parents believed it, the teacher believed it, and then they left the class. A year later, they came back, and then they did the test again to measure the results. And guess what? The kids in which they told the parents and the teachers that they were late bloomers, that they were not smart now, but within a year they're going to be really, really smart, all of a sudden performed really well. After a year, they were significantly uh, higher achievers than the other half the class. And so it makes you wonder, what happened? You know, uh, Clearly the test did not identify them to be successful. So the only thing that was different was the words that were spoken. The words that were spoken that said that they were going to be smarter than the rest. And all of a sudden, those words became a self-fulfilling prophecy. You see, when we talk about prophecy, we live in a this is a prophetic church, and so we are used to prophetic words on what could be, on what God intends and what could be. But do you know that prophetic words can also be used to shape things that are not yet happened? When you read through the Bible, there are times in which, yes, God shows that something's going to be happen, and the prophets speak it. But I guarantee you that I've read many prophetic words in the Bible in which I'm not sure if the prophet heard from God. Sometimes I think the prophet just speak it and God makes it happen. You know, so because words have power. And so when we talk about next generation, when we talk about uh, raising your child, I want you to think about the words you are. So the first one is I am, the second one's going to be you are. What do you tell your children? Especially when they do something wrong, especially when they make you angry, especially when they get on your nerves, especially when they cry, scream, and throw a tantrum. What do you tell your child about who they are? Okay? It's not going to be easy, but I'm going to challenge you. The next time your child throws a tantrum, does something that absolutely gets on your nerve, does something that gets you totally upset and mad, I want you to look into your child and say, you are an amazing person. You are wonderfully made by God. You are a kind, considerate person, but you are not making a good decision right now. But you are not behaving as good as you should be behaving right now. Okay? I want to challenge you to begin to use the words you are and begin to speak life into your own children on what God intends for them to be and what you want to see them become. Because your words have power not only over yourself, but your words have power over others that you meet. So here are the takeaways for today's sermon. Okay? First thing I want you to do, okay, is to learn to say I am, okay, followed by what God intends for you. I still remember when I went for lessons on life saving, you know, uh, whether as a lifeguard or a rescue diver. The first thing you learn is you always try to save yourself first before you try to save someone else. There's no point trying to save someone else if you yourself are drowning. So, with the same principle, learn to speak words over your life first before trying to speak over the lives of others. Okay? So learn to say I am as God intends for you and for your life. Then learn to speak you are as God sees. Be blessed. Have a good day and week ahead of you. And remember, your words have power. So learn to speak life. Let us pray.